Ladies and gentlemen, in a couple seconds the transmission will start and I will start talking, okay? So of course I will say hello officially in just 1 minute, I guess. So don't be surprised that I will do it second time. It works already, okay. So then hello again. So now we have our live streaming also on, as I understand. Today's topic is confidentiality. And obviously we deal with our magic screen again. You remember on the top of the screen you have the autonomy. On the left side it's written informed consent, and on the right confidentiality. So now you can use your finger and push the right button. Can you see that? Here in the middle. Right one, confidentiality. Just push the button. Not him, he's not a button, he's a human being. Okay, so if you push the button on confidentiality, then there will be introductory speech, and you will see actually what it's all about. What is confidentiality? It says that everything about patient healthcare is confidential, and only patient, him or herself, may decide whether to share the information at all. Okay, so first thing you need to know, whether to share or not to share. Shakespeare question. Remember Shakespeare? To share or not to share. With whom to share. Under which circumstances. Which part of the information. What is the right timing of doing it. All these sub-questions are addressed accordingly by patient. So that's why the magic rule says everything which is about personal health care is strictly confidential, and only the person himself can decide what part of the information to disclose, to whom, under which circumstances, and all other aspects of this disclosure. This is general rule, and of course there are some exemptions, obviously, and these exemptions we simply need to know. Okay, if we ask you who is entitled to get information about patient health care beside the patient, decision, answer will be always one and the same. That person might be only judge. Okay, court order or warrant, whatever will be in the answers of your question in exams, then you will pick up the most suitable one. That can be either judge or the court. Nobody else, neither president nor prime minister, state prosecutor's officer, I don't know, chief investigator, policeman, any other answer is simply wrong. Why? Because all these people may go to the courts and ask judge to assess the value of information this person is asking to disclose, and the value of confidentiality as a personal freedom of every individual. So that is a simple decision. In case if judge says okay, reason which is there is viable, makes sense, and gives approval, then it leads to disclosure of information. If not, that won't happen. So it's easy as that. Nobody else has access to this kind of information, including other colleagues of yours. If one of your colleagues asks certain information about your patient, even if this patient becomes his or her patient, route goes through the patient again. You can give any information about own healthcare to patients, and then patient to him or herself share this information to the new doctor. Okay? Even information sharing between the colleagues happens not without consent of the patient. The consent of the patient is necessary. Any question on this? We are on same page? Happy? Can move on. So, another exemption is if breaking confidentiality duty is absolutely necessary for achieving more valuable goals. Your patient has certain disease and is dangerous for the society at large, or is dangerous for some particular person. So he is saying he is going to kill somebody. Yeah, you don't need to laugh because it's serious matter, but you are the professional who knows actually how to react. So if this person says that he is going to kill his mother-in-law, of course you think twice, because there might be a lot of people saying that they are going to kill mother-in-law, but they are not really going to do that. Okay, or if he says that I hate my boss and I'm going to kill him tomorrow, it's also you who should assess whether this person really means it and is capable of doing it, and whether you need to inform police or not. Because obviously if you believe that he endangers other people, you need to act. In cases from Kaplan, for example, you will see that in some cases they also advise not to inform police, but also the person concerned. If the situation is so serious that you have feeling that losing time might be dangerous. So in such cases you may be even called to inform not only police, but also call the person who is endangered. Other cases where you might break confidentiality duty is related to some sexually transmitted diseases, for example, okay, or some other diseases that might be transmitted to the partner, spouse, or any other person they are in touch with. In such cases, of course, what we need to do is simply to avoid breaking confidentiality and encourage our patient to disclose the information him or herself, because this is the best option actually. You avoid breaking confidentiality duty, and simultaneously you fulfill your duty to save some other people's life and not to endanger their health, and definitely that would be the best possible approach. That's why the choice which is offered to you in most of the cases would include the option to encourage patients to share information him or herself. In case if it happens, then we are on safe side. No confidentiality duty is broken, and outcome is achieved by reasonable and responsible action of our patient. Okay. How you can involve what? If patient refuses, what you should do? Yeah, you see, this is, as I said, last resort is to break confidentiality duty. So actually you can't say that I do not care what happens. Imagine your patient is HIV positive. And being HIV positive, it's obvious that person he lives with is also in danger. At least this person deserves to know that he or she is also HIV positive. But if you do that, that will be breaking of confidentiality duty if you share the information yourself. That's why first you attempt to encourage your patient to share this information, okay? To find ways how to tell it. You may invite your patient for the discussion afterwards to check how it went, whether he really informed the spouse of the partner about the disease, what was the outcome, and in best case scenario they come together to you. Okay, then you know that he has or she has done it, and you have additional patient. So we are not happy because we have additional patient, but we are happy that actually our patient fulfilled his or her obligation which this person had against partner, and really the most desirable outcome. But what happens if you have feeling that he or she is not going to do it, and your fear is fulfilled? At one of the meetings you check how it went, and that is your job to identify whether you are really sure that everything went smoothly. Okay? And if it went smoothly, and if your patient informs you that he or she has informed spouse about everything, and person, partner, and this person already took appropriate steps, then we are on safe side, and we can be happy with that we achieved again best possible outcome. So we lose additional patients, but the goal is still achieved. Okay, but what if it does not happen? Then you may, if you wish, draw, saying that, if you won't do that, I have to call him or her. So then, of course, this is the last stage of influencing. You still try to keep confidentiality duty. You still try not to engage yourself, because your patient then may still decide how to tell it, under which circumstances. I know, candles and nice music, or serious coffee talk, or drinking one bottle of whiskey, and then, now we go to the point. You see, are you happy? Yes. Okay, we are both HIV positive. Or you might be HIV positive. You see, that's actually the freedom you need to give to the patient to decide how this communication takes place. Okay, because the outcome is relevant for us and nothing else. Any question? So, as you understood, that was my key introduction to the topic. So, confidentiality, our key pillar of medical ethics, one of the key pillars, and you need to keep in mind that actually this is another very important manifestation of patient autonomy. And actually patient decides about every aspect of own healthcare, including about sharing information about it. Okay, as you see on the screen, we have again AMA Journal of Ethics, and I already opened the button on filter cases, and I pushed there confidentiality. So what we need to do now, we need to pick up somebody who will be our action hero for today, who feels to be a real hero today. Would like to be a real hero? You are a good guy, you are doing it well. Come. Tell me your name. Lev. Like a lion. Exactly. Okay. Not only in Russian, in German it's Löwe, L-E-V. And then it comes at the end, Löwe. So it's nice, yeah. So if you are a real lion, please wait 1 minute. Okay, so what we're gonna do, guys, he will push the button, selection button, and we will have the cases. And you need to help him in identifying cases, okay? And which one you identify, he will read for you, and we will discuss particular case, okay? Very good. Thank you very much.
Mandatory reporting of persons believed to be an imminent risk of committing violence or attempting suicide can pose an ethical dilemma for physicians who might find themselves struggling to balance various conflicting interests. Legal statuses dictate general scenarios that require mandatory reporting to supersede confidentiality requirements. But physicians must use clinical judgment to determine whether and when a particular case meets the requirement. In situations in which it is not clear whether reporting is legally required, the situation should be analyzed for its benefit to the patient and to the public safety. Access to firearms can complicate the situations, as firearms are a well-established risk factor for violence and suicide, yet also a sensitive topic about which physicians and patient might have strong personal beliefs. Who likes guns? No Americans? What? Honestly, you don't like nothing. Kitchen knives. Gordon Ramsay.
Okay. Huh? Two of them. There is another one. Yeah, of course. Switch it on. Okay, guys. So any option or any version of issue at this stage which you want to share.
Exactly what you described it as is, well, it's pretty much the title of it is, does a doctor breach confidentiality in the risk, if there's a risk of violence, not when there's a certain chance of it.
Risk of violence, he underlined. What comes up in your mind, sir? Anything? What would be?
I think one of the cases that was brought up in the abstract were scenarios where it's a bit unclear if the patient would actually proceed with what he said to go with, and I think you'll find these cases mostly in the psychiatric department. So from the abstract, it said that in such cases where you're trying to assess the mental capacity of the patient to perform what he said, you should analyze the benefits to the patient in terms of breaking confidentiality and the safety to the public as a whole in making decision as to whether you would go ahead to break the confidentiality.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wants to say something at this stage? Or shall we allow to read the case? Remember what we do? We read case from the beginning till very end to have a broader picture. Okay? And after we will read the case, I will come to the next part of the auditorium so that you can build up your issue. You start already writing down if you wish. Just check whether it works.
The case. After a painful breakup with his longtime girlfriend, Thomas struggled to get over feeling angry about his girlfriend's decision to end their relationship. Specifically, Thomas was unable to sleep well despite trying numerous over-the-counter sleep aids. He decided to make an appointment with Dr. B to get a prescription for something that might help. Dr. B asked, "How long have you have insomnia?" Thomas, "Can you tell me a little more about when it started?" Thomas explained, "I just moved here. I started a new job, but I had trouble sleeping before that." His tone becoming angry when my girlfriend dumped me. "That sounds really hard for," Dr. B began, but Thomas cut her off. Then she called the cops because she was freaked out about my gun. She told the cops I was threatening her and threatening to kill myself. "And had you?" Dr. B asked. Thomas was silent. Dr. B continued, "I see on the form you completed that you checked yes about having been admitted to psychiatric hospital. Does that have anything to do with what happened during your argument with your ex-girlfriend?" Thomas sighed and then responded, "Yes, I was taken that night by the police to the hospital and evaluated briefly." He continued, "But I'm not crazy, I just can't sleep now. Every time I think about her, I just want to make her go away. Get rid of her forever, and maybe get rid of myself too. Yeah, I'm not crazy at all," he muttered as his anger became evident again. "And your gun? Is it still in your possession?" Dr. B asked. "Yes," Thomas responded. Dr. B began, "Thomas, what you've shared with me makes me concerned about your own and your ex-girlfriend's safety. In this state, I am required to report concerns like that." Thomas stared at Dr. B. "What?" he exclaimed. "I thought this was confidential."
Okay. So after first reading, I think we have some general impression what is going on. Okay, who has impression that we have serious case here? Okay, 3 people think that we need to, 4.5 think that we need to take it seriously. Who wants to ignore this? Thomas. Makes sense? Good answer. Thomas wants to ignore it. Everybody else? Monitor. What you want to monitor?
Because first of all, he mentioned that what his concern is with is insomnia. So I believe we could start by addressing that issue and then monitor the mental state thereafter, if he still feels that way.
So your feeling is we can give him some sleep pills and try that he relax a bit and enjoy his life. Okay, can you go back to the top of the case? Let's try to go on step-by-step basis in a sense. Let's see what is important from these paragraphs. Remember what we are doing. We simply identify the issue. Okay, that's the first step. So what is the issue here? Who wants to share own issue? Will you do it? He has it.
I think let's talk about the confidentiality here first. I think it's not absolute value because we said at the first lecture that my rights or my freedom ends when I get in another other's freedom or other's right. So here there's obvious threatening, and there is something that we suspect that there will be a violence for it's clear, it's clear image. So I think my personal opinion here, we can break the confidentiality and we can share the information with the issue here.
As issue should be as a question form, is the Dr. B has right to breach the confidentiality. And
Okay, so if we formulate, I think you've done this training with the working group team members, right? So actually, question mark is okay. I don't mind question mark, but you don't have there normally particular people included. So whether Dr. B should break or not. So of course, to keep this information for yourself as a general knowledge of the story, that there is a dilemma whether suspicion, what you said, of becoming violent can be reason enough for breaking confidentiality duty. Okay? Being suspicious, if this is standard we are talking about, or there should be some more clear indication of risk. I'm not saying evidence. When we have evidences that it's already implemented, then it's too late. Okay, so clear dilemma we are facing is, so we need to make sure that we don't call police in every case somebody says, yeah, I don't like this person. Okay? Theoretically, there might be risk as well. But you see, it's too early to draw such kind of conclusion. And at the same time, we should not wait too long so that it won't become too late. Okay? So, first paragraph. What we know, after painful breakup with his long-time girlfriend. Okay, is that something what you want to keep in mind? Is it relevant information?
the reason that he's crazy.
Crazy also not a good word. Okay, let's say that he has vulnerable condition. Yeah, so long-time girlfriend. It's easy to blame somebody, but okay. Breaking with long-time girlfriend. That's the information what we have. Puts Thomas, because in specific conditions, right? He struggled to get over feeling angry about his girlfriend's decision to end their relationship. Okay, so clear cut. He's not happy with it. He's very disappointed. Okay? Or even angry. So that's what we know. Let's move on. Thomas was unable to sleep well, and so we know that it has certain condition. Despite trying numerous over the, I can see the word here, from here. Well, what is this word at the end? Over the counter sleep pill aids, yeah. Okay. So what it means, so actually what you proposed actually to take something to sleep better, he has already attempted. Yeah? So from the case it's obvious he took numerous, so not one or two, number of such aids already. And he made then appointment with Dr. B to get a prescription for something that might help. Okay, so after we're reading first paragraph, so what is the information we need to keep in mind? He's happy? Disappointed and angry. Okay, that's what we know. Ah? He has depression, yeah?
He has depression and he cannot sleep even with 8, and he wants more dosage.
Perfecto. Okay. Dr. B asks, how long have you had insomnia, Thomas? Can you tell me a little more about when this started? Fair enough. Good question. As a doctor, you would have asked the same, yeah? When it started. Thomas explained, I just moved here. I started a new job, but I had trouble sleeping before that. He added, his tone becoming angry when my girlfriend dumped me. So what is there anything you want to keep in mind? Breakup. But we know it already from first sentence as well. Yeah. What happened with his tone? Gives it you some kind of thought behind? Do you have any thought behind? No indication of anything. He becomes angry.
Break up. His girlfriend dumped you.
It's logical consequence, yeah? Every man should be angry. If girl, yes, yeah. So we identified everything, we agreed, so we know what's going on. Okay, very well. Let's move on. So then we have continuation of conversation, and Thomas cuts Dr. B off. Then she called the cops. She was freaked out about my gun. Do we have some relevant information here?
He has a gun,
Huh? At least one gun. So you want to make Thomas serious, dangerous person. He has at least one gun. Yeah.
Criminal.
He is real criminal. With numerous guns, weapons. Yeah, okay. sorry, wait, say it, wait.
He has mental problems. And his disappointment. Yeah, because he has mental problems. Angry and has a gun.
He is angry, disappointed, has a gun. Okay, so that's what we keep in mind. Okay, there was police also engaged, right? And what he says actually about police engagement, it was useful. They helped him a lot. Well, what is there? Don't remember. Okay, let's check. What is the information about the cops? What they've done?
Police took them in psychiatric hospital. That's what we have about cops. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. No.
You see, it's an important thing, guys. If we assume that he was examined and released from psychiatric department, let's say 2 days ago, that is one thing. Another thing is that he was, I know, what did we have as a continuation of the case? So what happens? What is relevant there? She told the cops I was threatening her and threatening to kill myself. And had you, that is a question, so we have this communication there. Dr. B asked and Thomas was silent. So is this silence something for you?
silence shows that he really wants to kill himself and also.
I agree with it. So he really
From your perspective, he's silenced because there is something. So at least it is not ridiculous.
he will probably will deny. So he didn't deny anything.
You would have said, no, of course not, I'm not crazy or something. Yeah? Okay, how you see here the same. Sorry? Okay guys, those who are on the stream, here's the discussion why he hasn't run away. That was the first question. Why he is still there? Where is the gun? And what's going on now? So we have here a very interesting scenario. Thomas with the gun in doctor's office, trying to open the window. And here we need to pause whether he is jumping from window or trying to throw down the Dr. B from the window. Okay, there is small problem. We have nothing like this in the case. Okay, so remember what we don't do. We never invent something which is not written in the case. Otherwise it would be very interesting, yeah. Thomas opened the window and has thrown Dr. B from the window. But Dr. B understood that he was ready for this development. Dr. B has a gun too, yeah. Okay, that's another development what we have here. So what we have, Dr. B with the gun, threatening Thomas to kill him. Makes sense, yeah. Okay, who will shoot the first? Who will shoot the first? Girlfriend. Okay, you see, ladies community decided that the girlfriend should jump in the game. Okay, so that is exactly what we do not need to write in the exams. Okay, guys? That is exactly what I'm telling you. Don't write things that are not in the case. Especially girlfriend with the gun was the top version. Very beautiful one, but we skip that one. So what we know instead, after Thomas was silent, then Dr. B continues, yeah? I think on the form you completed that you checked yes about having been admitted to a psychiatric hospital. Does it have anything to do with what happened during your argument with your ex-girlfriend? Okay, so that was what we were discussing actually previously. What happened when he was admitted, really? Whether it's connected to incident with the girlfriend, how dangerous all this might be. Thomas sighed and then responded, yes, I was taken that night by the police to the hospital and evaluated briefly. Okay, so we know that it was brief evaluation. I'm not crazy. I just can't sleep now. Every time I think about her, I just want to make her go away. Get rid of her forever. And maybe get rid of myself too. So, previous development about opening window and throwing down the doctor, or with the girlfriend running with the machine gun in the office, are superfluous. Nothing like this happening here. On the contrary, what we have here, we have actually confirmation that he was admitted to the hospital, firstly, that it was brief examination, brief. So I assume he has not stayed there for a long time, has not received proper treatment or something, on the one hand, but at the same time, after this brief evaluation, he was released. Okay? I think this is the information we need to keep in mind. But at the same time, he said he wants to get rid of her forever, and also himself, yeah. So putting together this information, so shall we take it seriously now? Shall we take it seriously now? He's doing what? Crazy. Which one? Dr. B? No. Thomas, you mean? Okay, I agree with you. Maybe Thomas has an issue. Okay, and of course Dr. B checks about the gun. So what happened with the gun? Is it still in your possession? Is it a relevant question? Would it help you actually to decide if you know that he does not have the gun anymore because police took it away. That will be one scenario. So he might not have access to the gun. Would it be sufficient for you? It's additional risk factor. You are absolutely right. Having gun is additional risk factor because otherwise he could have access to the knife as well, as you mentioned. Yeah.
Without gun.
People may be violent even without gun. Sorry. No, it's not apparent whether he's carrying it at this moment, whether he has it in the Dr. B's office. That's what we don't know. But he says yes about the possession. So he still has the gun. Not necessarily in the room. Okay, that is what we do not know again. And we do not invent things. Yeah? So he is not running around with the gun. It's not written. But we know that he has it in his possession. Guys, do you want to make a brief comment? No. So don't, it's not an issue, you know? I can come to you even if you are at the back of the room, if you need it. Okay, guys, any comment at this stage? So, actually, we have now broad picture, right? We know exactly what is going on. So what we need now to identify the rules which might be applicable here. So which rules might be applicable? Anybody tells me? Yeah? Yeah, 1 second just for others as well, because we need to be on one and same page.
So obviously confidentiality is a big one, and as you said, it's one of the pillars of medical law and ethics, holding up the big one, autonomy as well, so tying into autonomy as well. And also actually kind of danger to innocent persons. Yeah,
so actually what we need here, we need to discuss confidentiality and exemptions when you break confidentiality. Okay, so this is actually key here. We need to know that, as you correctly said, confidentiality is not absolute, and there are cases in which we must take action even if our patients are not willing us to do it. Okay, and exactly that is the conversation at the bottom of the case, where Thomas is surprised. He knew that it's confidential, all this, and how Dr. B can take an action. How Dr. B can say that she's going to inform police about it. Okay? So that is the part on rule. Remember IREC? Issue and rule. A stands for analysis. Actually, what we were doing, it was already part of analysis. Okay, what we were doing, we picked up the relevant points of the case and linked with the knowledge we have about the rule. So, what we need to build up? We need to build up serious condition in which breaking of confidentiality becomes necessary. But it should be absolutely necessary, right? Because breaking confidentiality, it should be the last resort. If there is a chance to do something differently, we should do it. Okay? So in this particular case, as you mentioned, to start with some lighter measures or to inform police, that will be the question. So imagine that you are Dr. B, or what's your name? Dr. J, now then it's better. So Dr. J will tell us how he would do that.
Well, I would not. Well, like I mentioned earlier, I think the best case is to monitor the patient by, first of all, treating the insomnia that he mentioned that he had taken drugs for. The doctor, by assessing the patient, will be able to offer better personalized care and to see if he needs to increase the dosage of the pills, which would not be something that would be offered to him at over the counters. after which, like fellow student mentioned, antidepressant drugs could be given as well to aid with relaxing the patient, and then, if need be, he could be taken to see a therapist to also monitor the situation better. I believe those two measures should be taken and assessed together with the therapist before um, the authorities or the police should be involved in the case.
So from your perspective, situation is not that dangerous that Dr. B should inform police. So Dr. J says no police yet. Do you want to make a brief comment? If you want, I will give you a mic so that then I'm moving there.
The exceptions to confidentiality, for example, is if there's potential to harm himself or to harm others. Yeah. 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 Well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm coming to the ladies first, then to you, and then to this road. Not row is better.
You said that police is not necessary, right? Not yet. So what if he leaves the room and goes to his girlfriend's house and kills her? What if? But to avoid this, I think that doctors should inform police or maybe psychiatrists to treat his insomnia, because people with insomnia can do unbelievable things.
You remember in many countries, including Georgia, we have this saying about sheeps, yeah, and wolves. That the guy was saying that there are wolves, all the time people were coming and there was no wolf, yeah. And when nobody believed him, wolves really came, and an entire ship. That's the point. If you call police every day saying, you see, I have another crazy patient running around, okay? Patient number X is also violent, and police takes about 100 people per year from your office, you see, at the end they will say you are on safe side, you see, because you submit around 100 people every year to police department to be on safe side. But at the end, then police might think that you are not serious. You know what happens? They take the patient from you and say, okay, go, don't come to her again, just run, okay? And at the end, it becomes really dangerous. No, I'm not saying that in this case you should not call police. I'm just saying that you need to be careful, because actually police has no idea whether Thomas is dangerous or not. That is actually you who knows it as a physician. You need to tell police. You see, and police relies on your opinion, please.
So I think that he's already suicidal. Yes, he's suicidal because he has attempted to do something like that to his girlfriend before. That's why I think they involved the police the first time, and they took him to a psychiatric hospital. And him being in the psychiatric hospital and them releasing him on time, that's not wise for them to release him on time. And now back to Dr. B. Since he came to her, I don't believe she's a psychiatrist, because he just went to Dr. B for medication and medication. So she's not a psychiatrist. Now, the only thing for her to do is try to get rid of the firearm. Now, by involving the police or calling the previous hospital asking for more details, because now
1 second, just you remember, you see what we're talking about. Actually, even if she will call the previous hospital, ask for information, they might not be in position to share it. Confidentiality. You see, you can't call, imagine that you are a doctor, see? and somebody calls you saying, yeah, we need information from the patient. You say who you are. I'm a new doctor. Okay, what is your feeling? Okay, tell me your ID, something I need to check, yeah? Scenario A. You check this person is really doctor. Then there is the next question. Whether patient is really patient of this doctor. And whether you should release certain information to this person. So you see there are a lot of questions. I understand that what he said. Remember how you know that there is only one God involved, and it.
Sorry. So, Dr. B has to. I believe the first important thing is patient's life here. That's the first thing. So, him being suicidal and having insomnia, he can just leave the room and something happens. He could just fall off the building, or he could go someplace and take another too many drugs and just die. So the main thing Dr. B has to do is try and treat him as much as possible. So he shouldn't kill himself. That's my issue. So he has to feel a lot better by the help of Dr. B. And one of the reasons he's there is for the girlfriend. So he has psychological problems, he's depressed, and he's suicidal. She has to treat those first. Yes, I'll make a call.
So for me, there's quite a number of points that would make me want to make the call. So firstly, he's got the gun. He's got the means to do it. So while he may not have the intention to do it, it may not be legitimate intention, he still has the means to do it, so he still poses a danger because he still poses a danger. Linking to that, the cops are already involved in this situation. They were there in the first issue. His girlfriend, ex, should I say, called them up herself. She sees him as a threat. So that's the key thing. Whether or not we think of it, we've got to understand that she thinks of him as a threat as well. So yeah, that's her autonomy. And so there's that. So the cops are already involved with that. So she feels threatened by him. And then also another thing that he's mentioned is, well, he's obviously heartbroken about her, and he obviously wants to get her out of his head. So that's a clear, understandable thing. Everyone's had an ex where they want to get him out of their head, and that's what it is. You want to get him out of your head. But he says, get rid of her forever, and maybe get rid of myself too. And that last sentence completely changes the whole meaning and the interpretation of it. Because if you left it at that, get rid of her forever, you would think, just get her out of my mind. But because he added that extra sentence in, you're starting to think it changes the meaning completely. Because when you think of get rid of myself, pretty much means it indicates suicide, death, and to get rid of her as well implies killing her as well. So there's the implication of it as well, coupled with the previous episode of violence, and that he didn't deny as well, and the fact that he's already got the means to commit that violence, altogether for me would make me immediately call up the police and the victim just to stay on the safe, well, not to stay on the safe side, just because I would believe that he has a genuine intention, coupled with all the, obviously the mental health, the intention of it, and the realization that he does have the means to do it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm coming somehow to your side. Okay, I know how to do it. So if you want to say something, don't hesitate, okay? Just share with others. Okay, you wanted to say something.
I think in this unclear image, during this period, I think we have two options. Or to protect her by providing her a policeman or guard or bodyguards or something, or to arrest him during this duration and do the investigation while we are arresting him, because when he is free and she is free, it's dangerous. So we have to separate them from actual.
You want to separate them?
Yes, or to protect her, or to arrest her, or give her a gun.
I see in commentary this start with no, the bodyguards, guns, and it's too complicated. So you make life more complicated with it. We should see what's going on now. Okay. Do you want to make any comment? If you want so,
I don't think that arresting him is a good idea. No, but they should anyway investigate his mental health condition.
yeah, we need to agree that calling police not necessarily means that they will arrest him. Okay. What they've done previously, they brought him to the medical setting. So you see, that might happen. Okay, it's not about arresting him at this stage, and we don't need to think about incarceration and how tough his life will be, and that he will definitely kill himself and so on. Okay, there might be appropriate action to bring him to the hospital where doctors may take care of him. Okay, isolation, what you mentioned, would be definitely achievable through this as well. So we don't need to worry about it. Okay. Read for us Hippocratic Oath.
This one. Since is the Hippocratic Oath considered by many to be the first known guidelines written for medical ethics. Physicians vow that what I may see or hear in the course for treatment or even outside of the treatment in regard to the life of the man, which on no account one must spread abroad, I will keep to myself, holding such things shameful to be spoken about.
Okay, so it's a first version how to act in same circumstances. So it should be confidential. Okay, so that is since Hippocrates, we think about it, how to keep it. Yeah, we should not arrest him. Let's see. Any comment? No comments? You're fine? Okay. Okay, I'm coming to you, Professor. Just wait for a minute. I'm giving you microphone. Okay. So, what is your conclusion regarding this case?
A conclusion. Well, I have a few of them actually. First one being that the doctor has to take some precautions. That where he asked the seriously, is that it is not confidential? I would say, you know what? I just forgot. It's confidential. I cannot say anything. Go out. Oh, have fun. Maybe look for more bodies. I don't know. So, the conclusion would be: physicians might be faced with difficult legal and ethical decisions in cases in which patients appear at risk of violence or suicide, particularly when firearms are involved. Discussions about the risks of firearms should be approached collaboratively so as not to diminish patient rapport. Additionally, physicians should be cognizant when they are required to report concerns for violence or suicide, and when they are permitted to do so. In situations in which such reporting is permitted, they should balance patient autonomy and beneficence with patient and public safety. Makes sense. And their own safety.
So what you like? You like our professor's conclusion more, or conclusion in the case? Sorry? You don't like that? Okay. Share with us why you don't like that.
Because that's not the issue about firearm safety. The issue is about confidentiality of the patient's safety, as well as as a third party safety. This is talking about safety of firearms. It's not as if this is implying that the case was about the guy's an idiot and he just accidentally shot himself in the arm. So I just feel it's a bit, doesn't really, it's a good point, but it's just not relevant to the case in hand. Yeah, it's, yes, yes.
But after having discussed it with the patient, to explain to him how important it is, because you have a gun, you might become dangerous for yourself and for your own safety. Let us call police and make sure that everybody is happy. Yeah.
I would just like to give a perspective on the patient. The patient is not a psychiatric person. Neither is he someone who was brought in on admission. The issue at hand is a breakup, which is something most people have experienced in one way or the other. So this is not a mental institution case. This is just part of social life. It happens to people. So I would like to draw a reference that there are people who this breakup happens to. They don't seek the aid of anyone. They keep it to themselves and they proceed on with life. Some go on well, some end up committing suicide. So this is, first of all, a normal social thing that happens normally in society. It's not necessarily a hospital situation, but it happens as we relate with humans. Now, our patient has taken the step of progress in coming to the hospital. First of all, in the paragraph, I think in the third paragraph, it mentioned that he left his former job and he changed location, which means he's making an attempt to come out from that state and that environment which he previously found himself. Probably the former location was where the ex now was. He's left that. He's gotten a new job. So we have to bring our attention to the fact that the patient is making an attempt to have a different life. In the end, that he can recover from this, the breakup that has happened. In the first paragraph, what we were not brought to was the timeline. Is this 3 months? Is this 1 month after the breakup? We didn't know about the timeline. So I think that is something personally the doctor should find out. What is the timeline, and to know the severity of the emotions that are still within. If this is 6 months, maybe we could have a little bit of concern. But if this is 1 month after the breakup, it's obvious that he will still have feelings very strongly. These are not things that just go away immediately. So in our assessment of the patient, I believe the timeline should also be brought into perspective, after which we can go on further to assess the patient, and then, which is why I made the suggestion, seeing that the patient has made all of this progress and not keeping it to himself. The reason why he came to the doctor was because of the medications he was taking over the counter were not effective. So he's seeking personalized care from the doctor to guide him for the sleep aspect. So we have to take into attention that the patient is seeking for solutions. That is not a patient that would likely to commit suicide. A suicide patient would mostly keep these things to himself and to he would be engaged in depression and whatnot. But our patient is taking the active steps of seeking for solutions. So I believe that is why there is a surprise when the doctor says that he's going to call. When we read the case, that the doctor said he was going to call, the patient was surprised because of he believes that this is not something that should have gotten to that extent, because the doctor should have recognized the steps he has taken to come to this point. So I believe in our assessment of the patient, before we break confidentiality to involve the police, we should encourage the patient in further care by involving a therapist to also monitor the situation. And one thing I would make reference to in the conclusion was that the discussion of firearms should be approached collaboratively. The issue with firearms, it's not, permit me, but I'm not aware of any country where firearms are legalized except from the US. So if I'm to go by that, it's not strange for a normal citizen to have a firearm. So I believe that that should not necessarily be a major hindrance as to why you should call the police at that end. So after which, in working together with a therapist, if the situation still ends up declining, monitoring the patient's health, then maybe you can break confidentiality. But I do not believe that the police should be called in this instance.
Thank you very much. It was beautiful speech. You see, one thing is very important, because if you have such kind of justification, it's good to write in your analysis part, because it shows that you have clear position on this. Even if the assessors then will decide that it's not the best, even if it's very valuable that you have clear understanding and you have your roadmap which you follow. Okay? That's why, and there were some very important points discussed. I think it was very useful. Thank you very much, and please.
Firstly, with your comment, so if you show your own rationale for this conclusion, for example, would you be marked down even though based on, for example, the USMLE guide is wrong?
That's what I'm saying actually. From my perspective, if you justify something very well, if you have good arguments, then there won't be any downgrading, so to say, of your achievement. On the contrary, of course, it depends what is your conclusion at the end. Even if it's not 100% the same what the assessor thinks, it's fine if it's sound and logical. Okay, if you say that in case, I know, just we made some crazy suggestions here, that he has to offer gun to the girlfriend as well, that won't be accepted, you see, obviously. That won't make sense. But otherwise, justification, whether his justification or any other logical and well justified option, is perfectly fine.
I just wanted to draw attention to what the local policies and procedures are in your practice. I know we're discussing quite a very varied perspectives here, but at the same time, as a medical professional, you're also going to stick with your policies and procedures. Now, if the policy and procedure based on suicidal threats, right, or there's a concern about risk to the individual's safety or the society at large, potentially the policy is that confidentiality has to be broken, whether that's to the police or to another member of your multidisciplinary team. There will be some form of confidentiality being broken at a certain stage. Now, depending on this context, it might even be that the patient is not made aware because of the doctor's assessment of that potential situation at that time. So, and so there was something else you mentioned about suicidal people might not come to a healthcare professional. That's not completely correct. Somebody who is suicidal could seek out help. And that's why you have a lot of different helplines available for people who are having suicidal thoughts. So that somebody has suicidal thoughts may not be that they're actively making plans. And even the ones who are actively making plans can reach out for help. So just to bring that to your awareness as well. So they are not all depressed and in their rooms and not doing anything about it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going towards Prof again, so that he can share with us the final remarks.
Yes, Josh, right? So, Josh, you made very valid and logical remarks and very valid and logical thinking as well. But let's say This patient comes home, drinks a bottle of whiskey or gin, because it's probably Texas or something, and says, "Fuck this doctor," and takes his gun, drives in his pickup to his girlfriend's house, shoots her dog, shoots himself, and after he shoots himself, he shoots another one. Just you will be surprised. We're already in kind of a movie scenario, so maybe the dog helped. I don't know. So it's America, so Second Amendment. So in conclusion, better safe than sorry. That's just, we have so much factors sufficient to establish that he is a clear and immediate danger to his surroundings, to himself, to the doctor, probably too. So we should what? Arrest him? No, we should call the police. Tell them, listen, there's this lunatic which you sold a gun to, running around threatening to kill his girlfriend and himself, and apparently the fact you brought him to the mental hospital didn't help. He's taking active steps to make himself better, but he is obviously crazy, so we cannot really trust that, and probably call his girlfriend too. I mean, tell her, well, first of all, what the hell did you find in him, and second of all, run. Yeah.
Go back to the list. Maybe we'll pick up another case. We have some time to discuss. Huh? Yeah, but it's not that much yet. Sure. I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. As long as we pick up another case, so you can make a final comments as well. So you see, he wants to be on safe side. So that is the right of the doctor to be on safe side. You might be precautious a bit more than needed, time to time. It's not wrong. Important is that we feel that if we can do something, we should not avoid our own responsibility and try to help.
So I would just want to add to the conclusion that if we as doctors are what in this situation, I believe we should, knowing that he might have the firearm on him, or he might be at home, or he might stash it somewhere, we should try as much as possible to talk him out of him being with the firearm. That is dangerous for him, for the society, and you should try, maybe then you tell him that you have to involve the police just to remove the firearm from him, and maybe write something, I think is it stuff about someone shouldn't possess a firearm because it's a danger to himself and to the society, that they should pass a law or something for him that he shouldn't hold his firearm for a certain period of time. But I don't know, so something like that. We should try and educate our patients that he shouldn't be holding a firearm at that time. That's my thought.
Yeah, it's actually very good what you say. So you would try to work a bit more with the patient and explain to him that it might be dangerous even for himself. And that's a very good point, because if we explain to him that under these circumstances, actually he would like to take care of his interests. Yeah, it's a very, very personalized thing, and definitely he might react appropriately. Yeah, thank you very much for this. Okay, guys, do you see anything on the screen which you want to discuss? So I think there is one about what is all about. One is about learner's role in the operation room. Sounds not bad actually. Sorry?
going to say the ceremony.
About, yeah, but then why they put it in confidentiality part? That's the case, because we filtered actually confidentiality, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. Yeah, there is also confidentiality issues as well. Okay, push please, Prof, the button. What about learner's role? And check the abstract. Okay. And show me the case. Okay, so that we won't run out of time, let's read both, okay? Abstract and the case, and then we'll discuss it. Would like to do it, if you don't mind? Whether you have choice, yes, of course, we have a lot of other people.
Yeah, I like it here. I like it here. Abstract. This case commentary primarily focuses on properly disclosing the participation of medical trainees when obtaining informed consent in the educational healthcare environment, particularly in relation to the development of institutional standardization of informed consent processes. The article addresses what it means to obtain informed consent, the element thereof, and how ethical principles can be better applied to clinical practice in order to ensure truly informed consent. Concepts of capacity, disclosure of information, patient understanding, voluntary decision-making, and consent are discussed as they relate to the case. The case. 2 weeks ago, Ronald learned that the recently biopsized, strangely colored, large mole on his foot is melanoma. Given the lesion size, Ronald's surgery will be done by a plastic surgeon, Dr. Rush, at the academic medical center near his home. Dr. Rush plans to do a wide excision of the lesion and a skin graft, which he describes to Ronald, who agrees to the approach. On the day of the surgery, Ronald is waiting in the preoperative area. The resident physician working with Dr. Rush that morning greets Ronald. "Hello, my name is Dr. Friedman. I'm a plastic surgery resident here, and I will be assisting Dr. Rush today." Ronald expresses surprise. "I thought Dr. Rush would be doing my surgery. No offense, but I don't want a student doing my surgery. Nay, please talk to Dr. Rush." Dr. Friedman tries to clarify his role, noting that he's not a student, and as a senior resident physician on Dr. Rush's team, it's typical for me to be involved with many of Dr. Rush's cases. I do this all the time and have a lot of experience. Ronald, still worried, states, "I understand you are qualified to assist Dr. Rush, but I really just want Dr. Rush doing the surgery. My brother had a lot of complication after his surgery once. I don't want to take any chances." "I understand," says Dr. Friedman. As Dr. Rush enters the room, Ronald briefs Dr. Rush on his conversation with Dr. Friedman. Dr. Rush replies, "Ronald, you do have some say in this, but we do our best work when we work as a team. In fact, it's critical that we work as a team. I don't do any surgeries by myself. Dr. Friedman is one of our best, and I need her assistance in your case today." Ronald thinks a bit and sighs. "Well, I'm not comfortable with this, but I don't have much choice, do I?" Ronald is shaking a bit, visibly distressed and anxious. They are relieved at Ronald's words, however, and decide to leave it at that. Ronald is wheeled to the operating room. As they prepare to enter the operating room, Dr. Friedman and Rush look at one another and acknowledged to each other feeling uncomfortable about Ronald's expression of defeat and capitulation just before the surgery. They wondered particularly about how they might have responded differently to Ronald's fears about complications. Well, he did have a choice, but they shouldn't have left it at that. I mean, everything is good. Just say, well, you do have a say, but just be more persuasive. I mean, Dr. Friedman might as well be a lawyer, so no offense. So just be more persuasive. Don't leave it at that. Otherwise, you will feel uncomfortable about your decisions. That's it.
Okay, so just show me hands who wants to make a comment. You should also read this very last part, actually, very last paragraph. Discussion between the doctor and the senior resident. So they feel uncomfortable with that. Okay? I think it's obvious why they feel uncomfortable, because actually patient is to fight during surgery, and also psychological, mentally, he should be ready, prepared. And here it looks like to be not only disappointed that surgery will be done by resident, but that he has no choice actually. If he would have choice, apparently he might have taken some other decision. Okay? So what is your opinion about it? Who wants to start? So first of all, remember issue. What is the issue? What is the key thing we need to discuss here? Everybody's so silent. Okay, yeah. Please.
So the key issue is: was the patient correctly, fully informed in order to make a decision that suits him correctly? That's the issue.
Yeah. From your perspective, also timing is not appropriate somehow, right? So because actually, if it would have been discussed earlier on, he could have asked the questions he has now. It would make entirely sense, you see, and if he hesitates of doing something, he would have knowledge about the person making surgery, about the role of assistants, and how it can be structured. Okay? Do you want to share anything? You're too silent today, no? Yeah. Ladies here. Also, you want to keep all your knowledge for yourself. Yeah, makes sense. Why to share it with others? But it's very egoistic actually, yeah, approach. To keep knowledge for yourself only. Yeah. Any comment? So let's pick up the key points. So, okay. Somebody mentioned that there is a big portion of informed consent, obviously. And regarding rules, yes, they listed it in confidentiality list, but also informed consent plays a big role here. For sure. That's why, while talking about the rules, even in my view, informed consent plays a bit more dominant role than confidentiality issues here. Okay? Because it's all about having proper information. And of course, also in the sense that being able to engage some other people in surgery without the patient's consent, it might also require some additional steps to be taken. Okay?
Actually, because it's obvious from this case that the patient didn't have sufficient information, not about the procedures. Like, he didn't even know who the doctor would be and who the doctor would be attended by, so and who would be engaged in the operation. So informed consent, and also, but he could have rejected, right? Yes, but he reject and just went to the operation room. So
There is a term called so there is a term called elevator talk that especially for students in the clinical field, that the students in the clinical field can reach the patient personal information. So when they talk, for example, in an elevator or in some public space, they may break the confidentiality as well. And so because this is the main concern, that the students that can't know the actual value of confidentiality, but also he's a student, it's not so this is the case, that students can reach easily personal information, and we can't guarantee that they will keep this information. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Yeah, ladies, just help us with your comments. So what are the key points to discuss? So we agreed about issue, we identified rules. So what would be your discussion? What are the topics you want to discuss during your analysis part?
Fear of the patient is the main thing, because this Dr. Pugman is resident who has to be on the surgery. He has experience, and he works with the doctor who knowledge and experience, and this patient is trusting this doctor. So the main thing that patients fear. I think trainers should be attended on this.
Anyone? No one.
Okay, so as I understood from the case, we picked up the most important points. Yeah? The one was that actually timing of informing Roland appears not to be the most appropriate one, and it I think also disappoints him that he is lacking the information right before the surgery. Okay, that's really not the best timing, let's say so, and he really is lacking certain information. This information might be very helpful for him for taking decisions. Residence in the surgery. That is nothing which we would say is strange to see, and definitely that is something which is widely applicable practice. So what we see here is rather that Roland has different expectations. So from his perspective, the guy in the surgery must be the most experienced one. And actually what doctor does, he simply explains it to him, saying that he is not making surgeries himself, right? So that means that actually this is only choice what Roland has. And the question to you is whether they have really some other choice, how they might have responded differently. That is the question addressed to you. Okay? So one issue is related to timing. We agreed about timing. More thorough information to be provided. What else comes in your mind? What you would do as a doctor?
respect the patient wish or opinion.
Respect patient's opinion. So would you say that they need to stop the surgery? And
The patient don't want the resident to enter the surgery, so we don't allow the surgeon to enter. We can do the surgery without the resident, by the doctor himself.
that it's actually, to exclude resident from the surgery. Do you like this option? Do you like that resident is excluded from the surgery? Propose that actual doctor should do it without resident's participation.
Need assistant.
He needs assistant, yeah. Who should assist him? Are you going to assist him? Huh? Another doctor. So you say that Roland is uncomfortable with residents. He doesn't like residents generally.
He believes in doctors' knowledge and not residents.
The question is whether it's a reason enough for you to say that we should respect his opinion and substitute resident, as he says, by a real doctor who has already license. Would you do that for him?
Yes,
50-50. Okay, so you would bring half doctor, half resident. Another tough decision, I think. Your opinion?
I think we should respect patients.
Okay, so what you would do, okay? A resident will stand there and won't assist me anymore. That would be your response. He would just give me something if I need. I do everything with my own fingers.
And if he refuses again, we should change the resident.
To change resident by doctor. No, point is, you see, actually if we explain a bit more what is the role of resident, or you see the suggestion was, he said, to weaken the role of residents and to put more weight on doctor's performance. Because you see, from his perspective, if I understood it correctly, he sees that it's doctor's mistake that he has not done enough while explaining the role of the resident. That's why once he needs to be engaged a bit more than resident, and next time he has learned his lesson and explains better to patients what is the role of residents, and that residents will be doing some minor manipulations where the key decisions and monitoring and control will be in his hands. Would it be okay for you? This case, yeah, generally, of course. So you don't want all residents to be excluded, because otherwise there won't be. Yeah, sure, I understood it. Any final comment on this case, or you agree with this story? What you would do as a doctor? Imagine you have fellow resident to accompany you.
Well, obviously the patient was unaware that the resident would be in the surgery, and I think obviously in the surgery, when it comes to consent for a surgery, you need to inform obviously what's going to happen in the surgery, but also who else is involved as well. So you want to know that they are, so you want to know the exact processes, fully informed consent. And obviously in this case the patient wasn't. So I think the best course, obviously what happened was not the ideal situation. What should have been done was the patient should have obviously been, or they should have just taken an extra half hour, explain to the patient why we got the resident, who else is going to be there, and what's going on, and why, and explain the risks and complications that are available if the resident isn't there, essentially, and explain all of that.
Very good point, to take additional 10 minutes or so to convince and explain that there is nothing wrong with that, to tell exactly what is the role of the resident, and also to make sure that patient not only understands but is not that much frustrated with the circumstances. He has no other choice, because the idea behind it is not that he has no other choice, but rather that it's a good choice for him, it's a right choice, Remember we said we can be as persuasive as we want. Actually, important is that we do not provide false information, and if we say everything what we think openly, then I think it's worth taking really some time and explaining it. Yeah. Okay, you see key message was also here. The last part is called proper timing. So I think we done a good job actually. Your suggestions were very good. Obviously, we don't want to kick out residents from the surgery rooms. That would hinder the development of medicine, and there won't be anybody in the profession very soon. That's why we need to do some more thorough explanatory work to patients and help them to understand that actually this how it should be, why it should be, and what are the benefits, right? So very good ideas. Thank you very much. Anybody else wants to make a comment? If not, we have one more class before midterm, remember? So what we're going to do, we will go through all 4 topics. Okay, we will start from the beginning again. So if you were lazy till now, or you had good reason not to read anything, it's good moment to do it. Okay? And during next class, we will start from the beginning and discuss all the topics briefly. Okay? Is it fine for you? Okay. Thank you for participation. Professor, it was very good job you've done. Thank you very much. I am sure that it was your pleasure. You can say goodbye to everybody. No off shit, yeah. Final words are goodbye or something.
Goodbye or something.